Hello. The best time to start testing your Ruby on Rails application is whenever you create it. The second best time is now. So in this episode we are going to see how we can start testing a newly created Ruby on Rails application. And if you have set up the fundamentals for testing on the very beginning, it'll be much easier to follow later on. So here I've got a newly created Ruby on Rails application. Where is it? Let's started. Yeah, a newly created Ruby on Rails application, and there's literally nothing in it. Nothing in the roots, nothing in the schema, nothing. And we're going to start adding a few pages, and then we're going to add authentication with device and test the application. So let's start by adding just a couple of static pages. First of all, I will say Rails generate controller. Let's name it static pages. It will have a landing page and a dashboard. So usually a landing page will be a page that can be accessed by any user, and dashboard by only authenticated users. So let's see, it will generate these files, and we have this static pages controller test. If we have a look at this file in our test directory, it has two lines of testing. So to get the page landing page, and to be sure that we can get it, and the same with the dashboard. Let's see if it works. I will say Rails test. And it's working. Okay, let's save our changes. Git add all, git commit main. So generate static pages. And what if we want to update our rules? You see, at the moment when we start our application, we still have this default screen. And to see the landing page, we would have to go to static pages / landing page. Same with dashboard, static pages, dashboard. So let's update the roots for them, the URLs. I will go to our roots, and I will say get, so it will be root static pages, controller, landing page action, and we will say get dashboard to static pages, dashboard action. Okay, and now we have updated our roots, so it will be just, we go to the default root and we will get our landing page, and if we go to / dashboard, we get the dashboard. Looks good. Let's run our tests. Let's say Rails test. And you see both tests are failing because these URLs that were in the tests do not work anymore. These are not valid URLs anymore. So let's use our newly created URLs. Let's say root URL, assert response success, and the dashboard URL, assert response success. Let's say Rails test. And it's working. And just to be sure that we are getting these particular pages, let's be sure that we get some text from them. So we can go to our views, static pages, landing page. You see we have some unique text here, static pages, landing page. Let's ensure that we get this text in the response. So I will say assert match this text to the response.body. Let's see if it works. It works. Let's try updating the text with a few additional symbols. And you see it didn't find this text in the response body. Okay, let's do something similar with our dashboard. So what is the most unique text we've got here? Static pages, dashboard. So let's see if it works. Rails test. And our tests are passing. So git add all, git commit main, update static pages URLs, and pass tests. Okay, now let's add device. And we will say that landing page can be accessed by anybody and dashboard only by authenticated users. So let's go to the gem device. And how do we install it? I will get gem device in our gem file, bundle, Rails generate device install. This line in development.rb. We already have a route to a default page and alert and notice in our application HTML. Now let's generate a user model, Rails generate device model. How do we say it? Rails generate device. Yeah, just the name of the model. So user Rails DB migrate. Now in application controller, I will say that we need to be authenticated to view their application. So I will say before action authenticate user, and I will skip this before action for the dashboard page. So I will say skip before action authenticate user for the landing page only. Landing page. So we will not need authentication to view the landing page. Let's see if it works in our server. I will go back here. Okay, I'm going to the root path, and we do not need authentication. If I go to dashboard, we do need authentication. And also let's add our default links to sign in, sign out. I already have them copied here. So I'll go to application HTML and just paste them so that we don't waste time on this. Okay, let's see if we've got these links. So let me just try creating an account. And I have signed in, and you see there is my email here. Okay, and I can also access the dashboard, and I can also access the landing page. Let's see if our tests are passing. I will say Rails test, and the tests are not passing. So let's see what we have wrong here. It says duplicate index users on email. So the email has to be unique in users. And we are actually creating a few users in our tests, in our fixtures. So I will go to test, fixtures, and here we have our users. And you see, we have generated this user model, and this model would also need to have these two entities with unique email. So I will say email will be yaro@superrails.com, for example. The other one would be another unique email. Let's see if this works. I will say Rails test. Okay, so the fixtures have been passed, and now we are already in our failing controller tests. Let's see. I'll go to our static pages controller test, and the line 12 is failing. So line 12, we try to get dashboard, but the response is not success. It is a redirect to sign in path. And we need to sign in for this test passed. So before adding device and signing in, let's first test that a user that is not authenticated cannot access this page. So let's say we will skip one test, we will copy this, and let's say unauthenticated user should not get dashboard. Get dashboard, assert response redirect, and we will assert some kind of presence. Let's see. I will say Rails test. Okay, we are redirected. Let's say assert redirected to what would the path be for sign in? Let's say Rails roots grab user. It would be new user session path. So to new user session path, let's say Rails test, and the test is passing. Okay, and let's assert some kind of presence of text. So we have you are being redirected. Let's follow the redirect. Follow redirect. What text will we have there? Okay, so we would have some kind of text like you need to sign in or sign up before continuing. It would be in a notice, you see, in a notice. You need to sign in or sign up. I'll just not have it all. I'll just have this like piece of text, just to be sure that we are on this new user session path with a flash message that something went wrong. Okay, and now let's actually make it work. So we're going to sign in with device, and to do this we are going to use a device test helper. So I'm going to go to this test helper file, and here I'm going to say that we are going to include device test integration test helpers. And adding this line will enable us to sign in with device in our test environment. So I can now use sign in user.first. and user first is going to be the first user from our fixture. So it will be, I guess, this user. Let's see if it works. I will say Rails test. Okay, I get some error. Maybe I made a typo. Device test integration helpers. I think without test. Okay, now it worked. Let's just ensure that we will also get the user's email. So let's say user equals users1. So this will be getting the user's fixture file and the entity one. We will sign in not user first but user, and we will say assert match user.email in response body. Let's see if it works. Okay, so our control test worked. Now let's also add a test, so a system test, so kind of a browser test. I will go to our system folder and let's create a new file, for example, devise authentication system test.rb, and it will inherit from this application system test case. So I will say the way we have require test helper in our control tests, we will require where is it? System. Oh yeah, I created it as a folder, not as a file. Let's kill the folder, and here I will create this file, and I will say require application system test case. So I'm requiring this file, and now I will say class devise auth system test, so the same as this but in camel case, that inherits from application system test case, and let's add one spec. Let's say test sign in existing user do, and let's say visit root URL. Let's see if it works. I will run Rails test system. So if you just say Rails test, it will test everything except system tests. And to just test only the system tests, you would say Rails test system. Let's see if it works. Yeah, so actually you saw a browser was opened up and it quickly tried going to the root path of our application, and it succeeded getting the root path, but we didn't do any tests. So let's assert that there will be some kind of text. Let's say assert text. So you see the syntax is quite different here and in our controller test. Here we were asserting a match in the response body, and here we go to this path and we assert text, and let's get some kind of text from our landing page. Let's get this text. Assert text, this text. Let's run Rails test system. Okay, and now let's try going to the dashboard path. So let's say visit dashboard URL, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we do visit the dashboard path. Let's try asserting some text. Let's say assert text. What text do we have in our dashboard? Static pages dashboard, for example. And instead of it, we get an error. Undefined method assert text. Assert, I forgot the letter T. Let's try once again. Okay, so you see we were actually redirected to this you need to sign in page. Okay, so this test is failing, and to make it pass, we would again say user equals users1 sign in user, and now it should kind of pass, I guess. Let's see. Okay, so now it passes, and let's just ensure so the landing page works. Then we will ensure that the dashboard for unauthenticated user does not work, and dashboard for authenticated user does work. So we would have a few different test case scenarios here. Let's add them. So 1, 2, 3. So I will say sign in, I would say this test is for landing page works for all. Then dashboard doesn't work for unauthenticated users. So we will just try getting dashboard, and we will assert the presence of a text that you need to sign in or sign up. Let's try running these two tests, and I'll skip the third test. Okay, these two tests are awesome, and here we will create a user, we will sign them in, and expect that a signed in user can see this text. Let's see if this works. Okay, it works, and let's just write one additional test. Sign in for a newly created user where we actually fill in each field. So sign in new user, and we will say user equals user.create, and we will have email equals something, password equals something. Let's add an email equals yaroslav@superrails.com, password equals 123456789, and let's say we are going to create a new user with this email, with this password, and instead of just saying sign in, we are going to actually fill in the form to sign the user in. So how can we do it? Let's actually put a debugger here. Debugger, and see what we can do. Rails test system. Okay, so let's try visiting some kind of page now. I will open it like this to see both the console and the browser. Let's say visit static, just dashboard path. Here we are on the dashboard path. Let's say fill in email with 123, for example. You see, we have filled it in. So it's like really cool that from the console we are filling in something in our browser. Let's fill it in not with 123, but with something else. Okay, it looks like I'm dead. I mean, the session is dead. Let me try restarting it. Okay, I'm back. So my terminal got dead, and I had to actually restart it. I had to kill the Ruby related processes. So I got this command ps aux grep ruby. I found the processes and I killed the processes one by one until my tests were, well, not frozen anymore. So let's start Rails test once again. Okay, Rails test works. I can run Rails test system. The browser opens up, okay, and we are brought back to this page where we need to sign in. So somewhere here, and yeah, I'm going to say fill in email with this email, and in the same way fill in password with password. And then I'm going to say that I want to click the button login. Click button log in. And now I will I don't need to visit this. I've done it. Yeah, I'm doing it here. So I'm trying to visit. Then I'm failing and I'm being redirected to the sign in page. I'm filling in my email, password, clicking login. And now I want to check whether I have actually redirected to dashboard URL. So assert current path is dashboard URL and assert this text. Let's see if it works. I'm going to run the tests once again. And yeah, the tests have worked. Okay, so now we have some basic system tests covering our authentication. And if you don't like seeing your browser been popping up and run all the system tests, you can just make it run in a headless mode. So headless Chrome instead of just Chrome. And now whenever you say Rails test system, it is going to run all the tests, but no pop-up browser will be visible anymore. And actually when you're running your tests in a CI tool, so not on your local machine, you will want to also use headless browser, but not just the browser, because well, there will be no place for the browser to actually pop up, and it would possibly give you an error. And also when you're like testing, you're saying Rails test, you're testing everything except of system tests, you're saying test system, you test the system tests. But if you say Rails test all, then you will run all the normal tests and the system tests. So yeah, I guess this is about it. We have done testing for our system. Well, we have created this system test for device, and we have tested our static pages controllers so that we require authentication to view our dashboard. So this is about it. Thanks for being with me, and see you in the next one.